Two.
Welcome to 755 is Real, presented by Topps. Check out Topps Project 70, celebrating 70 years of Topps baseball cards. That's nostalgia, people. Topps, your childhood, your youth, baseball. All right. Listen, man, this is things are getting serious now for the Bravos. Eric, I'm with my co-host Eric O'Flaherty, former Braves reliever. Eric, have you seen some progress in this last? I know it's the Pirates and they're pretty bad, but did you see some things you liked, especially from that bullpen that got overshadowed in that series?
That's a good thing, though. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
any series you're not
exactly.
talking about, the bullpen's usually a good one, unless you just blow them out. But they kind of did a mix of that. But yeah, anytime you have a series like that and you could be overshadowed, that's kind of the goal in the bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, because like you said, when you're winning big, when you got lopsided games, if you're not talking to bullpen, it means they didn't come in and give up five and make it interesting, and they were solid. And Jacob
Yeah,
Webb got in a nice appearance before got sent back down to AAA. I thought that was good of Snit to get him in there and let him leave on feeling good about himself and not stressed if he was stressed. He needs to go down and pitch, and he'll get to go down and pitch at AAA, get some regular work down there. So uh, that the big progress, the big most encouraging thing I think is Shane Green made his first appearance at Gwinnett and gave up a leadoff double. It was the first batter he's faced in what 8 months or whatever it is. Then struck out the next three guys. So I don't think he'll be there long. I think Snit would like to keep him there a couple of weeks, but Snit also said that usually doesn't happen like that. So he's fully prepared for them to cut it a little short. I would guess he'd be back after this 5 game road trip is over.
yeah,
Um,
maybe it's just hard to gauge how far along a guy is, and if he comes in and does that three more times,
yeah,
then you're saying you're ready. But if you have
right.
a couple rough ones, I mean, I'm sure they'll see how he looks and play it that way. But it'll also be dictated how the big league bullpen's doing. I mean, if they
Yeah,
deal and they feel like he might need
true.
an outing or two, and they feel like they can afford to wait, maybe you wait. But if they blow 3 games in a row, it's like you're
Yeah, if
coming.
there's not that urgency, then they could afford
Yeah,
to let him stay there a couple more times. He's got a big ass beard, man, which is kind of going the other way. That's not the trend now in the majors, but people have trimmed them a little bit. But he's coming in bearded.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, um,
Let's get people out. You can look
yeah.
however you want.
I thought Chris Martin has been nailed since he got back.
Yep.
That's great to see. I know the Braves are. I mean, he's so important to this thing down the stretch, and so there's some progress there. Grant Dayton's looked good since he got back, so we'll see. They're piecing it together. It's taken a lot longer than anybody had hoped or thought, but if they keep guys healthy, and getting Shane Green back, and they've added another couple of pieces, is going to allow them to give guys proper rest because I think we've seen Mentor showed the signs of fatigue of pitching 20 times in the first 39 games or whatever he did. So that'll be a good aspect there. But listen, let's talk about this series. And like I said, you don't want to make too much out of it because it's the Pirates and they're one of the worst 2 or 3 teams in baseball. But they lit those guys up, man. The Braves, they scored like it was a softball league. The 20-1 game, 7 homers and 2 grand slams. They're the first team that's done that. There was some stats about the first team to hit 7 homers with them, at least 2 of them being grand slams. I mean, that was a crazy game. Were you keeping up with that one? Did you watch it or see the alerts coming in or anything?
I didn't want. I mean, checked in on that one, and then I saw the score, and I
Yeah,
was just like, "Well, there's about to be a position player in this one."
yeah,
I didn't watch that one, but like you said, I mean, it's beating up on the Pirates. It might not be that encouraging outside of the clubhouse, but just to give guys almost a breather series and not have
yeah.
a close series like that where you feel like you're grinding through it and take a tough loss or anything. Just to everybody puts up their numbers, everybody's happy. That's sometimes what you need to get rolling.
And it came at a time when they had gotten to 500 and then taken a big step back. So you're 4 games under 500. You're 4 games, I think, back of the Mets. So it couldn't have come at a better time as far as that's concerned. Then you lose the first game to the Pirates, and you're thinking, "Oh shit, is this thing got the wheels
Yeah,
coming off this thing?"
no, they
And
need
what
those next two.
do? They just flip the switch and completely reverse that line of thinking. And you had a huge crowds there at Truist Park for the first night. They come out and it's a great crowd, and Braves let them down, lose. You're thinking, oh, people are going to come back. They came back in droves. So
Mm-hmm.
you had big crowds there all weekend when you won these 3 games. You gave them plenty of those people. You gave those people plenty to come back to see, want to come back to see. And also they had the biggest Sunday afternoon crowd that I can ever remember, because usually, it's a big drop off on Sunday afternoon crowds, especially in Atlanta. There just is, the day before school. Everybody that's going to go to a series usually goes Friday or Saturday night. Well, Sunday you had a near capacity. You had 39,000 people. And I was like, what is going on here? Then I realized it's Freddie Freeman bobblehead day. So they need to do that more often. They need to have some of those bobbleheads on Sunday when you're not going to have those built-in crowds.
Instead of Friday. Yeah. I always thought that even when I was in Oakland, they'd give away like a Billy Butler dog food bowl or something, and we'd get an extra 10,000 in the stands. I'm like, why don't you just give something away every game? I don't know what the margins are on all that, but I think the same thing. Like, why don't you do those things when you got a team coming in that you don't think you're going to get fans for or anything like that? They seem to always do it. Yeah.
But Sunday's the day to do it against the Pirates. That was smart.
Yeah.
Friday and Saturday in Atlanta, you're going to get a good crowd regardless of who's playing. It's the other nights that are, or day in this case, that are the challenge, especially when school's still in session, that kind of thing. It's just one of those challenges in Atlanta. So it's having that many out there on Sunday for the last game of a homestand, and to give them another really good game to leave with before this road trip was big. They really made, man, and we've talked about this all season. This team, man, goes from, they just toggle back and forth. They go from what the hell's wrong with the Braves to, is this it? Are they going to fall out of this thing and be 10 games behind and be sellers at the deadline? They go from that to, now you're right there back in first place. You win this series, you're back in first. It's back and forth, back and forth. So I think they want to build off this series. And I think they got a chance now because of the things that are happening and people getting healthy and that kind of thing. And when you look at it, what was even more amazing about having 15 home runs in a series, which is absurd, in 13 of the last 3 days, was Freddie Freeman didn't have one of them.
Yeah.
If you'd have told me that, that you'd do that without Freddie Freeman being at the center of everything. And even Acuna didn't have, it wasn't him at the middle of everything like it normally is, other than he did have a leadoff homer. But this one was all about offensively. This was about Austin Riley, his coming out party. He's had a month-long torrid stretch, a little bit, about 5 weeks actually. But Ozzie Albies really looks good, hitting from both sides. He finally got some left-handers to face and put together a lot of good ABs against them. And Dansby Swanson raking the last 4 or 5 games. Right when you start to really kind of be down on Dansby and going, what the hell's wrong with this guy, man? Is he going to put it together? He has a stretch like that. So he really made some adjustments and looked good, using the whole field, going the other way, which is when he's at his best. So a lot to really be pleased about with this team coming out series. And the starting pitching, they're really on, talk about overlooked. They're on a stretch now where they're just doing quality start after quality start, which you were not getting for a long time.
Well, that's kind of what you were expecting, though. I was thinking about it this morning. Before I did this podcast with you, it was always, as a player, you're never riding those waves, that roller coaster. It's kind of like you have a good game or two and you go home, you eat dinner, you forget about it, you come back to field and work the next day. You don't analyze it day by day or series by series like that. You kind of just peek up at the standings every now and then, but you're never like, you go 0 for 4 and you don't go home and think, man, am I a fluke? It's like you put it behind you the next day. And that's kind of, I think that's just what I was realizing was it's analyzed in the outside. It's analyzed like series by series, game by game, day by day.
Right. Yep.
And players are just not in that at all. So now I look at it this way, and you're always trying to figure out, like, is Dansby going to hit or is he not? The ups and downs of it. I think, the players that do it like that, the guys that go 0 for 4 and they get really down on themselves, or they go 3 for 4 and they're really high, the guys that ride that, 1 out of 500 are successful major leaguers. The rest of the guys are just kind of steady Eddie and get through the year. But when we looked at it before the season, this is who we thought the team would be. If Freddie doesn't hit first series, you got all these other bats that are raking. And early on, that just wasn't happening. It was just Acuna.
Yeah.
And the whole bullpen happened to struggle at the same time. or this, you have 3 or 4 bad starts. So, I mean, this is the team that I see more like what they're playing lately, where you got, when one guy's not hitting, you got Riley going off and Ozzie going off for a series. And that's what's made them, good in the past. And they just weren't doing that early on, but they're slowly starting to get more and more guys more consistent and rolling at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really noticeable. And they're still doing it without much from Ozuna. He's had some good games mixed in with a lot of bad ones. So they're doing it without him yet. So they need to get him locked in. And also need to get Freddie locked in at Freddie level of locked in.
Keeps like he's just almost there
Flirting
so
with
many
it.
times.
Yeah. Flirting with it. So meanwhile, you got all these other guys really coming along, like Ozzy's hot now, but Austin's raking now. Dansby's coming along now. When you get a lot of these other guys going without Freddie having to carry the team, or with Acuna being great still, but not, otherworldly like he was early on.
But Riley's doing that now.
Riley's doing that now. So when you get those two main cogs back, and Ozuna, you could see where this offense could explode again, like it did last year. And that's what it did in the Pirates series, without those guys. But I mean, against good pitching, you can see them do it like they did last year. So
it'll take pressure off the dudes that are struggling a little bit too. When nobody's hitting, I'm sure Freddie feels a lot more pressure than when other guys are picking him up.
Yeah. And it's good when you're not having to talk, when your conversation about the offense does not center around the pinch hitters, which it was early. It was Cunha and the pinch hitters. So Pablo. And Pablo now, his biggest role lately, although he continues to have terrific at bats whenever he's used. I mean, he hits nothing but line drives, but his biggest role during this series was the Panda hugs. That's become the thing now, like the Freddie hugs used to be. Now it's Panda waiting at the end of the dugout after a guy hits a home run. They march down, they go kind of through the gauntlet of people right down to Panda, and he's waiting there. And it's like, Snit was like, he's a huggable guy. Snit said, he's a huggable guy. I might get one of those. It's pretty funny. It's pretty funny. So,
good way to describe him.
He's
why everybody loves him.
Yeah. So, all right. So is this the series or the road trip where they get through 500, Eric? Because every time this team has flirted with 500 this year or gotten there, they've taken a big step back and lost like 3 out of 4, or 4 straight or whatever. Is this because this is a challenge too, because they're going up against the Red Sox and the Mets, 2 at Boston, 3 at Citi Field, and they're 1 game under 500 right now. Do they get through this thing now, get to 500 and through it?
Well, you want to go 500 on the road, but it's 5 games. I mean, so you'd either go 3-2 or 2-3 and probably feel okay about it. But it's tough going to Boston. I mean, I anytime you go into Fenway and split, I think that's a net win. And then New York, I mean, that'll be the series. I don't know if DeGrom, I know he had a pretty good rehab start. I don't know if he's going to be, he's probably coming back for that series, wouldn't he? Yeah. So that makes it tough, but
get these 2 home records. Boston and the Mets lead the American League East and the NL East. Boston, I'm sorry, the Red Sox are tied with the Braves. Yeah. Red Sox are 29-19 at home, 13-12. So they are a machine on the road, 16-7. So there you go. But I'm with you though. If you come out of there with a split, you're happy. But the Mets this year at Citi Field, and that place is like a cauldron waiting to explode because the Mets have been bad. But when they're good, that place can be loud. Well, they're 11-4 at home this year, 10-15 on the road, 11-4 at home. So that's a test right there, man.
Yeah.
But
if you go in there and beat them, I think more than anything, if you go in there and beat them in their park, you're sending that message. Because, the Braves started this year with that target on their back, and it was almost like it felt like teams were gunning for them. And now if they go in and they kind of got to prove who they are now. And that'd be a big series to go in and win.
Yeah. It's like, all the Braves had won the previous 3 division titles, yet none of those years were they consensus favorite. And most years they weren't even the favorite at all among many people at all.
Yeah.
The first year, no one picked them. They come in this year as the consensus favorite to win the division in a year where we thought it was going to be the toughest it's been during this stretch of 4 years. Well, I'm with you though. They do have a bullseye on their back as the consensus. Everybody knew they were the 3-time champion coming in. even if they maybe had more questions than they've had the last couple of years, or at least last year. So, but they're getting everybody's best shot if that can happen in baseball. And I think they have so far. But they also, we've talked about this before too. They also had the numbers that said they were one of the unluckiest teams in baseball in that first month because they had the hard hit rate, which, you know, if you buy it, and I do, hard hit rate does mean something. They weren't hitting to the expected on base percentage and batting average that they should have. And you're starting to see that even out. You saw Freddie get a couple of bloops hits in this series that he was due for after having about 20 hits robbed on line drives into the shift or just right at people, regardless of positioning.
Yeah, I mean, that was one stat I hated as a pitcher was batting average on balls in play.
Yeah.
Because I could go into a game. I wasn't striking a lot of guys out, but I'd go into a game and I'd get 3 soft ground balls to shortstop, and it'd be analyzed as a lucky inning because 3 guys put the ball in play and it was a 0 batting average. Like you got lucky, and that was the same way I looked at Freddie hitting early on. It was like, I know his average says 190 or whatever it is, but he lined out to shortstop or hit a topspin laser to the guy playing shallow right field instead of second base.
Yeah.
You know, you can watch that stuff and analyze it and say that guy's getting unlucky. And I felt like he definitely was. So, I mean, you watch that whole first month for the Braves, it felt like pretty much everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and they're still right where they are. We've been saying it for a while, but at some point the ball's going to start just dropping in for them and they're going to take off.
And it did during this series. They got hits of all kinds. It's that cheap hits, huge hits, many balls that went over the fences.
Yeah.
It was impressive. And also Max Fried yesterday, I thought on a day when he didn't have his best stuff.
He didn't. No.
He was still totally in control. And I thought just the ground ball after ground ball after ground ball. He only had, I think, 2 or 3 strikeouts yesterday.
I think 2.
Yeah. And like more walks than strikeouts, but man, he was a ground ball machine yesterday. I mean, as a pitcher, if you can do that with this defense, you're going to do all right. This defense is nails again right now. They're playing really well. Since he got back from from his DL stint for the hamstring, I don't know. Early on, you talked about, you thought he was just a little off from being there in his first 4 starts before he went on the IL. Well, since he got back, he's got a 1.50 ERA in 4 starts. I mean, he's the Max Fried that we saw last year for the most part.
Yeah. Yeah. And that goes back to what I'm talking about is, I don't think he had that first rough month and thought all of a sudden, maybe I'm not the guy anymore. Maybe my last however many years were lucky. I mean, it's definitely not easy as a player, and you got to stay out of your head, but he knows who he is. And he had some rough breaks too. I remember watching the start against Washington. He's giving up flares and stuff kind of just compounds and piles up on you, but he's looked like himself even without the strikeouts. And it's always, for me, way more encouraging when a guy doesn't have his stuff and does what he did yesterday than when anybody can come out with their A game and put up zeros. But when you see him only strike out 2 and still have a good start, that means he didn't have it. He wasn't blowing guys away, but he was still competing and making pitches. So that was a good start for him.
The good ones, man, they win when they don't have their best stuff. That separates the good ones from the just okay ones. They win when they, regardless.
Yeah, they just find a way. You just compete and minimize damage.
And I think Ian Anderson already has a knack for that at 23 years old without a full season in the majors.
He's had a knack for that since day one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can come out and be on his game or have almost nothing, and still he can get results. I mean, he's Snit likes to say he never gives in. He just keeps pitching, pitch after pitch after pitch, competitive. He never gives in, and that's what's really surprising. Such a young guy to have all that down mentally.
That's the difference. You see the guys that have that 1.7 ERA in Gwinnett, and then they get called up.
Yeah.
And then they have a good first start, and then their second start, they don't have it. And instead of, 5 innings, 107 pitches and 2 runs, it's 3 innings, 7 runs, and they're out,
Yeah.
That's the big difference in guys. But the Braves are lucky. They've had so many young guys, Fried, Soroka, Ian, that have come up and been able to pitch without their best stuff. It's really rare, honestly.
Bryce Wilson had a really good start a couple of days ago. That was a good one for him. Snit really praises him for having the maturity and getting it as far as the shuttle that they've had the last few years, because they're playing the system that's the way you
I
have to do
know.
with the system with your depth. Is they're bringing a young guy up, he'll make a start, and they've got enough guys that they can do this. They got like 3 guys down there, and they don't have to use that roster spot when they have an off day, or they can skip a turn. They can bring a guy up for one start, send him back down the next day. And that bothers some guys. They can't really, it doesn't seem like they can succeed, or they don't succeed in that system. But Bryce Wilson has figured it out and is able to do it and not take it as a worrying about what I did wrong. What do I have to do to stay here? Not being pissed off. He goes back down to Gwinnett and dominates. And then when they need him, they can bring him up here and he has a good start. So all the guys haven't been able to do that, but he has.
It's so hard to do too. I mean, I guess, the number one thing would be to understand I'm going down anyway, no matter how I pitch. Right. And then just have a good start. And, just knowing how stacked the rotation is or can be, a lot of guys will come up and they'll pitch with extra pressure. And I think that's kind of when I would watch Tukey, that's what I felt like he was going through, just getting jerked around like that. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy to handle mentally, because you're out there and you're thinking in the second inning, when you get first and second, you're thinking about that bus ride to Gwinnett.
Yeah.
Instead of what pitch do I have to make to get out of this? It's, if I don't make a pitch here, I'm going back to AAA.
Oh, man,
and
that's not good.
Not many guys can pitch with that pressure, but that's kind of what that system does to them. Because they'll have a good start and still go down. And if you can know that mentally and just think, at some point there's going to be an opportunity, somebody will get hurt, I'll get a chance to be up here for a while, and I just got to keep making sure I'm that first guy in line, and every time I come up, I make a good impression. But man, it's frustrating. Guys don't have that patience, and they're not grinding to be AAA up and down guys.
Yeah.
And you have to look, you got to be mature enough to look past all that and look to the future and think, if I have consistently good starts up here, I'll eventually be the first guy up and I'll get that first shot. And if I make a, if I make a run out of that, I might just be in the big leagues. That might be who I am, but it's really hard to embrace that up and down roll. I mean, it wears guys out.
Snit does a good job of saying, he made a point to say after this, or when we asked him about Bryce in that situation, he made a point of saying how well he pitched. And he goes, he's going to be a permanent part of the rotation in the future. He keeps pitching like this, he's going to be he's going to be in the rotation, not the swing guy or guy going back and forth between the bullpen and the rotation, or AAA in the rotation. And Bryce gets it in that he could look at the schedule and see the 2 off days coming up today and next week and go, there's no way they're going to keep a 5th starter.
Yeah.
They probably told him that without him having to think that, but even if they didn't, he knows that, he can look at it and figure it out, and he gets it. So he doesn't let that situation that you just described affect him. So that's good. But anyway, like I said, the story of this series was the home runs, the offense. Yeah. But individually, Austin Riley, man, this is the guy. He is playing right now, hitting right now, and playing third base, by the way, playing elite level third base. Yeah. He looks great over there. But he is the guy that right now that the Braves, when they drafted him, this is what they had in mind. I mean, he is a country strong dude who has the strength to hit a ball out of any part of any park. And when he's not in a funk like he was when he was flailing at the sliders away in his rookie year, when he came up and raked for 20 games. And then after that, teams got the scouting report on him, realized they could get ahead, get him to chase, and then just put him away. Once he had 2 strikes, he was done. That slider that threw him away. Yeah. He's made adjustments since then, slowly but surely. He's much better at the slider. One of the 2 home runs he had yesterday was on a slider, 0-1 slider. And the difference in him now, this run that he's on now, this 31 game run compared to the 20 game run as a rookie, is that he's not a nobody that nobody knows and they're just feeding him fastballs.
They got the book.
They're trying to stop him now and they can't.
Yeah. Yeah. When you do it at first, sometimes they're just trying to figure you out. Mm-hmm. And you watch so many players, they come up and they're hot and then the league finds a hole. And that's the difference. In AAA, they can't hit that spot. They can't expose you as well. You get up to the big leagues and you're around guys that can hit that spot 9 out of 10 times and they can expose you. So you come up, you're hot, and you see how the league adjusts to you. then the league adjusts, and then you have to adjust back. And that's what it seems like to me that he's finally done is just adjust back and know how they're going to pitch him. But I also watch him, and he doesn't look like he's swinging hard at all. You
Yeah.
know, when I
Yeah.
see him struggling, they're like big swings on fastballs, and he fouls them off, and then he eventually would chase the slider. The balls he hit, I mean, they went just as far, but his swing looked nice and patient and balanced and smooth. And I think he's just so strong. You know, I mean, that might be one of the big things for him, is just to remember he doesn't have to blast it 60
Yeah.
rows deep. He's strong enough to hit it out anywhere, and his swings this last couple series have just looked so smooth and easy.
I mean, I can't even think of a swing where he takes, like so many power hitters take a swing and they swing and miss and they're falling all over the place. They almost fall to the ground. They're falling
Javi
out of the batter's
Baez.
box.
Yeah.
He never does that.
No.
And his part of it is his base, man.
Yeah.
If you've never seen Austin Riley in person, people that see him in person for the first time, they realize how thick this guy is, how big he is. And it's
You're
not
not
just,
tipping him over if you walk by and push
no,
him.
and it's not just get in the weight room and get ripped.
No,
he
it's
is
who he
built
is.
like he's got tree trunks for legs.
Yeah.
He's got the hips and the legs and a butt to be a power hitter.
Yeah.
Like he was made to do this.
Yeah.
So he is rock solid in that batter's box. And then up top, man, he looks like a guy that's been baling hay for most of his life, you know?
Yeah.
He's a big dude and a
Yeah.
big naturally guy, and he's in shape. And like you said, he makes it look easy to hit 500-foot homers, 480-foot homers. And
Yeah.
he's got the rare ability to do that. And then to see him over at third, it reminds me of, I'm not saying he's as good as Scott Rowland, because Scott Rowland was a Gold Glover over there, one of the best I've seen over that third.
But a big dude that can move.
Big dude, yeah. That can move.
He's smooth. Yeah.
Can get shift laterally. You know, he's got that lateral speed and the ability to dive and then pop up. You would think a guy that weighs 240 or whatever he does, you dive for a ball, it's going to take you a little bit to gather yourself and get up and throw. And he doesn't. He bounces up, and he's got a cannon for an arm. I mean, he's got a pitcher's arm.
Cannon. Yeah. I think about that a lot, though, and that's something that we talk about on here sometimes. But think about if Nolan Arenado went up to 240.
Yeah.
You know, because that's not who he is.
Yeah.
With Riley, 240 is who he is. So
that's what he carries. Yeah.
That's what he was born to be, just a big dude. So he can move that weight because he was born to handle it. You know, his body's set up to be that big, which is great because then he has the power without having to bulk up and lift and do all that stuff.
Yep.
It's just who he is. But I think about that all the time with the guys that you see either swinging hard to hit the ball as far as they are, or gaining a bunch of weight to try to hit these massive home runs and be power hitters. Like for him, that's just who he is.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to force this. So when you see him swing nice and easy and hit a ball out the other way or catch a slider out front and hit it 480 in the gap, you know, it's real encouraging for me to just know that that's who he is. And when you see him moving around, it looks natural, you know, even though he's a big dude, like he's supposed to move like that. So I definitely see that Roland comparison for sure.
Yeah. He's got more of a body that like Roland than say Chipper, even though their weight, their measurements, if you look at their height and weight, they're real similar. He and Chipper, they're not built the same.
No, Chipper's lankier. Yeah.
Yep. Long limbed and narrow in the hips.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's baseball. They come in all shapes and sizes because both of them look like when they get in the batter's box that they were born to do this.
Yes. Yeah.
But Austin does not have to get to lift weights in the off season to put on weight or anything, to put on muscle. He's just, the guy's big. Yeah. So, I mean, he could carry another 20 pounds if he wanted to just hit for power, but it would mess him up, I think.
Yeah.
Take a little off defensively and maybe with the batting. I mean, these guys hitting 320, man.
I know. But that's who we saw last year when he came up. And I remember trying to break down how to pitch him, or 2 years ago. Yeah. When he was, I remember trying to break down how to pitch him. And it was like, he was hitting the breaking balls. He was balanced. He was hitting things everywhere. And then he just kind of got into a funk. And a lot of times that's what I'm talking about. You get into a funk and you think you got to do more.
Yeah.
Start swinging harder, like crazy, start chasing stuff, you know. Just being smooth and letting the game come to you is one of the hardest things to do when you're struggling, but it seems like he's figuring it out.
It was almost like a harbinger last week when he played the Brewers and he had those incredible at-bats, those plate appearances where he took a few pitches were like really close and he took them with complete confidence. So you could almost see this coming, what he did against the Pirates, because I mean, he's got now his strike zone recognition is off the charts right now. In that regard, he looks like Chipper up there too.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if a pitch is an inch off the plate, he's taking it with confidence, and he's not even looking at the ump waiting for him to call ball. He knows it's a ball. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
when's the last time you even saw him turn his head and go, Jesus, that was the ball? He's just up there with confidence, man.
Yeah.
He's locked in right now. If this is the guy, I'm not expecting him to hit like this, like he has for the last 30 days, but I think he's done enough and that it's not look fluky where you can go, this guy's a stud, man. This guy's the third baseman for a lot of years coming forward.
Yeah. And that's what's hard to analyze is he's a young guy. He's been in the game for a couple years and he's learning on the fly and he has to conquer this level. And it's hard to gauge where guys are going to be at because some guys just fall off a cliff and then he can do what he just did. The last, it's been 5 weeks now that he's just looked like a superstar.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what the great players do. Even Freddie, when's the last time we saw Freddie struggle for as long as he did? Maybe never in his career.
Yeah, never. I've never seen him struggle for like that, for 25 games or whatever he did.
Because he minimizes when he gets into those funks that Austin got into for a lot longer, Freddie minimizes those and he's good after a week, maybe 6 days.
So Riley had 2 homer games Friday and Sunday. He's now 10th in the majors in batting average. That just blows me away. He's hitting 320. We're over a quarter of the way in the season, coming up on a third of the way after this road trip through the season. He's hitting 320. If anyone thought we'd be saying that nearly a third of the way in the season, please raise your hand. And after hitting 6 homers in a week, he's up to 9 for the season. That's another thing we forget is he had like a week and a half ago, he had 37 hits, 30 of them were singles, which was good because you knew the power was going to come. But meanwhile, he's hitting for a high average. And Chipper said when we talked to him last week, Bowman and I talked to him, and Chipper said it was just good to see him hitting the ball and then juice the ball the other way because the power is going to be there. Yeah. Meanwhile, he was on pitches. He was on like those balls in Milwaukee. He was on everything. It's just he was just missing a little bit with the power. But once he got that going the other way and juicing a ball, then it's the whole package then. But the strikeouts were way down. The walks were up. Contact rate was up. It was all there except for the home runs. And now in 1 week, he answered that.
But that's how you get to the home runs.
Yeah.
You can't chase them. And I think
can't try to hit home runs.
It's probably the hardest time ever to be, to not hit home runs in the game, because if you watch the highlights, they don't show defense. You're not blowing up anywhere if you hit 3 singles. You make a couple good plays, you lay out. It's home runs. Any game you scroll through that MLB app, there might be a pitcher that struck out 14. Yeah. The other 20 highlights on that thing are whoever hit home runs. So it's hard as a hitter, I'm sure, to be putting together good at bats and playing well, and you're not getting really any credit outside the clubhouse. But working your way there and hitting those singles is probably what got his swing locked into the point now where he is hitting home runs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't show a whole lot of opposite field singles on those highlights.
You probably won't see one all year unless maybe a walk-off.
So after hitting 6 homers in a week, he's up to 9 for the season. His OPS, 963. He is 6th in the National League. He's 1 spot behind Acuna, who's at 1,001 now. He's dipped a little bit lately. I mean, Austin Riley, 6th best OPS in the National League. He's OPS and higher than Arenado, Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman.
Yeah, it's in there.
Freddie has shown some good signs lately. Still hitting just 235, which is rather shocking considering you're coming up on a third of the season, and Freddie Freeman hit 235. But it's 830 OPS, 19th in the league, 1 spot. People don't realize, man, Betts is also not doing much this year. The 2 guys that dominated last year, Mookie's at 818, so Freddie's actually OPS and higher than Mookie Betts. It can happen to the best of them, man. It's like, it's not just automatic every year. There aren't many guys that are going to do it for 10 straight years like a Chipper Jones.
Yeah, I mean, just check back in on those 2 in September, though.
Right.
I mean,
that's why, it's 162 and not a 60-game season.
If you go through anybody's game logs and like Baseball Reference will let you click like May 2nd to July 5th.
Yeah.
You can click any section of a season. I bet you could find stretches where Freddie maybe not this low, but I bet you could find some
Yeah,
stretches where he hit 235 in the middle of the season
sure.
for a month, and nobody even notices. You know, it's when you get off to that bad start that it really shows up, because you actually see that 230 up there. When he drops from 290 down to 272 in July,
Yeah.
it you don't even notice. And then he gets hot again. He's back up to 285. He gets hot another time. He hits 282, 290. And that's a season. And it's like, yeah, Freddie did it again. But there's always these ups and downs throughout the year for
Yeah.
those guys.
Just to think how weird last year, to put it in context, how weird last year's 60-game season was. Braves are at 47 games right now. Last year, there would have been 2 weeks left in the season.
Oh, it'd be crunch time. But and if Freddie was hitting this in last season, everybody'd be wondering what's wrong with him, you know?
Yeah.
And he'd have that pressure to get it going.
The Braves would be fighting for their playoff lives right now last season. Fortunately, and that's why they had 16 teams make it last year. Yeah. If you think about where the Braves are right now, how many good teams would have missed the playoffs last year if you'd have gone with the regular, 10 teams?
I think Houston almost did last year, and they wound up doing all right in the postseason.
Just looking at the standings, man, we talked about going in. I thought the Marlins were being overlooked by everybody. I mean, I saw them play enough times last year, 19 regular season games or whatever it was. And then, well, not 19 because it was a 60-game season, but we saw the Marlins all the time. Then we saw them in a playoff series. And I saw those young arms. Yeah. And I thought, why are they being picked to finish 5th in the league? When they made the playoffs last year, they bring everybody back. They added Adam Duvall. Sure enough, they're right there with the Braves, man. I mean, they're half a game behind the Braves. They're in 4th. They're a half game ahead of the Nationals. And they're not surprising me, the Marlins. I mean, Adam Duvall's having a hell of a year, by the way.
Yeah.
Kind of built on. He started slow, but that series against the Braves kind of got him going. And he's playing terrific defense.
So, that Alcantara dude.
Yes.
He's legit.
God, they got some arms down there, man.
They do. I hate when these rebuilds start working because I hate that side of the game, but
yeah.
So
Acuna is in by his standards. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, before we keep going on this, Cam, you got some ads to read?
Yeah, let's make some money real quick. Today's presenting sponsor, as it always is Topps. Make sure to go to Topps.com and Topps Project 70. Topps is celebrating the 70th anniversary of its very first baseball card design with a new program that pushes boundaries while paying homage to their heritage. Founded in 1938 as a chewing gum company, Topps released their first baseball card set in 1951. Now, 7 decades later, Topps has teamed up with 51 artists and creatives from around the globe to revisit and reimagine 70 years of Topps' most iconic baseball card designs through a year-long program called Project 70. Creators of all kinds are gathering together to help contribute and create special cards, including Snoop Dogg, Action Bronson, and many others. 3 new cards launch daily all year long on Topps.com and are only available for 70 hours before they are gone for good. Make sure to check out some special edition cards. There are some rainbow foiled edition cards, gold framed cards, and silver framed cards as well. Head over to Topps.com to learn more about Project 70 and check out which cards are live right now. And guess what? Our partners at BetMGM want to bring you closer to the game of baseball than ever before. If you bet $1, you can bet you win $100. Plus, you get a free year of The Athletic. You heard that right. Place any $1 bet, and you get a full year of The Athletic, plus $100 from BetMGM when you win. Great sports writing, plus extra dollars in your pocket. A total win-win. Take advantage of this offer from The Athletic and BetMGM.com. Go to BetMGM.com/Athletic MLB, all one word. Note this offer is for new BetMGM customers only, and winnings are paid in bonus dollars. That's BetMGM.com/Athletic MLB. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions.
That it?
We got a couple more ad reads, but we may as well just keep rolling. There's some good stuff to get to.
All right. $1? Come on, man. You're better than that.
No, I'm not better than that.
All right, Eric. Acuna. By his, it's funny because he's in, for him, what would be is a mild slump. And it's kind of 95% of baseball players would like to be in the mild slump that Acuna's in.
Yeah.
He's still hitting bombs. It still leads the majors with 15 homers. Leads the majors alone. 15 homers. We're not a third of the way into. Yeah, so he's got that part of the 40-40 down, but he had been stealing bases, which is not a big shocker considering the offense and all that. But still has an OPS over 1,000, 1,1001 to be exact. He's hitting 276. That's down quite a bit. His OPS still at 380. 622 slugging percentage, still fifth highest in the majors. But check out this 2-week stretch by Acuna. Past 13 games, including 12 starts. He had one pinch hit appearance in there. He's hit 159, 7 for 44, but 5 of the 7 hits have been home runs. He has 9 RBIs and a 500 slugging percentage in a span where he's hit 159 for 13 games. Strikeouts are up a little in that stretch, 16 with 8 walks. 296 OBP, low for him. 796 OPS, low for him. 200 and some points lower than the season OPS. Like I said, slump by his standards, but most guys would be, hey, I'll take that. 800 OPS, I'll take that. But to show you just kind of where the Braves are, it's still, even with other guys getting hot and going crazy, the offense still, for the most part, as Acuna goes, so goes the Braves, because they're 6-7 in those 13 games, even with all the other guys doing stuff, they're pitching much better. He's still the straw that stirs the drink, hitting from the leadoff spot, doing what he does. It's still so much depends on him.
Yeah. Well, and Freddie after him. Freddie hasn't gotten, I mean, Freddie has, when those two are locked in at the top, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look right now when he got hit by the Phillies and what his numbers are after that. Because I feel like it almost seems like every time somebody comes up and in or hurts him inside, he kind of goes into a little mini slump after.
Mm-hmm. He was 13. He was just 3 for 16 in the Pirates series, Acuna, but he had 2 homers, including the grand slam in the absurd 20-1 game when Defoe came in, by the way. I hate the position players pitching. I know why they do it. Teams do it because they don't want to burn their bullpen, especially early in a series and on a road trip during a pandemic when they can't just bring up another reliever. But I still hate it, man. Defoe comes in, gives up like 8 runs, grand slam, second grand slam of the game for the Braves. And it's just, it's when you're watching it, when it goes well, like it did, when Freddie had the strikeout against, that was amusing and all that. But when a game goes sideways like it did with Defoe coming in there, I just hate watching it. Somebody pointed out on Twitter, he's like the last position guy that if you're a team, you don't want to use him, because the reason being he throws BP. He throws too hard. He's up there throwing 90, whereas most of these position guys come in and they're lobbing like 60. It's like throwing BP. They're throwing below bat speed. They're throwing below BP, like 50 miles an hour, and they're throwing 49-mile-an-hour curveballs. Guys can't hit it, but he's up there throwing like a bad pitcher.
Throwing 85 down the middle.
Right.
Straight. Like that,
and guys are just BP. Killing him.
Because when they throw BP, you got an old-ass coach throwing it with a beat-up shoulder, but he's standing 40 feet away. 35 feet away. So that's kind of the hitting speed. Like that ball Adrianza hit was just like, that's just a BP swing. He put it on a tee for him. He took an easy swing, home run. It was like, this is what we work on day in, day out all year. The thing that pissed me off was, I think it was Bally Sports or somebody tried to say that when Snit wouldn't let Acuna hit left-handed, he was he wouldn't let the kids play or some dumb shit like that. But
I didn't see that. Did they commented that?
Bally Sports did. I can't remember what they wrote, but they compared the Snit situation to La Russa and tried to lump him in with that. And
ridiculous.
Snit's got a dude taking selfies on his way to first base.
Exactly.
He's not anti anything. He's just
exactly. I had this debate with people on Twitter, man.
I did too. I was like, this is the dumbest shit, because if Acuna goes up there and gets hurt, whether it has to do with him hitting left-handed or not, Snit's fired.
Right. Right. You could take Snit's comment to him, which was, I got to put 3 kids through college, 3 grandkids through college.
Don't get me fired.
Yeah. You could take that to mean if you go up there swinging from the other side, using different muscles than you do every day, and you could easily get hurt. That's what you could take it to mean that. And, or you could also mean it's disrespectful to go up there in a blowout. And somebody said, what's the difference between him hitting left-handed and the Pirates bringing in a position player? Huge difference. The Pirates are bringing in a position player
It's a
so
white
they
flag.
don't burn their bullpen.
Yeah.
They're trying to stay competitive for the rest of the series. They're not coming in to make a joke of anything.
Yeah.
You know, it's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to say, let the kids play, I'm like you. Snit is the last guy in the world you can accuse of not letting the kids play. He's got guys. It's become like a circus running the bases on the home run
every time.
Okay. And it's entertaining. I'm not going to sit here and complain about it, but I mean, come on, they're pushing the envelope.
And they're going to continue to.
And Snit
he's
hasn't
been fine
said
with
a
it.
word about it. So
Nope.
do not give him shit about not letting a guy go up there, the best player in the world, maybe, go up there and hit from the other side. It's not an all-star game. If you want to be John Kruk and do that in an all-star game and put your batting helmet on sideways and everybody's laughing, that's totally different, you know?
Yeah.
And John Kruk's a grown-ass man at that point, and he can make that decision to do that on himself. But Snit's not going to let a 23-year-old, huge part of the franchise go up there and hit. There's a reason why you've never seen anybody else do that on another team who's never hit from that side. Go up there during a regular season game or a playoff game and hit from the other side. It does not happen.
The only guy that does it is Baez, but I think he's naturally left-handed.
Right. Yeah, he's done it before. He's not up there doing it as a joke like, this game, we're blowing you out so much that I'm going to go up there and make it competitive by hitting from the other side. And, you know, it's taking it to another level, man. But I didn't even ask Snit. I just asked him, was he about to go up there and hit left-handed? He goes, yeah, he was. I told him, he called him back. He said, come back. Cause he put on the batting helmet for that side. And Snit noticed that. No, you bring him back. But come on, man, the people that say they let the kids play. I mean, come on. This is a guy that lets Acuna and Ozuna. It's like a competition to see who can do the most stuff running the bases on a home run. And that's fine. But don't accuse the guy of trying to put a damper on it because he has not stopped anything.
The selfie to first base is the most let the kids play thing of all time. Like he is maxed out on his let the kids play. I'm not a grumpy old man credit. Like you can't get any higher than a dude taking a fake picture of himself on his way to first base. You know, you used to get mad at guys for not running out of the box. He stops on his way to first base and snaps a picture. If his manager lets that fly, then he's not you can't lump him in with anybody.
5 years ago, there's over half the managers in baseball would have said, no, never, don't do that ever again.
Yeah.
5 years ago. Now there's probably 3 or 4 at least that would. There's still some that would. Not many.
I couldn't see it happening for St. Louis, you know, but.
Exactly. But I would have said that about the Braves too before 10 years ago. The Braves would have never done that. They were your button down Braves. That was their reputation. And I thought it was too, they were too much so. I thought they were a little bit too buttoned down when it came to the playoffs. They kept doing their even keel thing, never adjusted, never changed their demeanor, were always professional, never showed emotion. And I thought it caught up with them sometimes in the playoff where they kept that going and other teams kind of came in jacked up like, no, this isn't just a regular game. And this isn't 162. This is different. I thought it kind of got to them a few times where it would have been better to show a little more emotion, but that's neither here nor there. The point being, these are not your dad's Braves.
No,
they do not. I mean, they've got guys doing more antics, if you want to call them or whatever, than any team in baseball. So don't give Snit shit if he does one thing for whatever his reason.
Come on, we're not
doesn't let a guy hit left-handed because nobody else is hitting from the other side for other teams.
No, and that's what pissed me off about it is I know deep down it probably drives Snit crazy, right? You know, because
and he bites his tongue.
He bites his tongue because he knows it's for the team. You know, he knows that's how his team function. That's what they thrive off. That's how they win.
He knows that.
His guys need that. He's embraced it, even if it probably drives him nuts when his dude's taking a picture of himself on his way to first base. You know, you can't tell me there's a single, even in the era I came up with, that watches that and doesn't say, okay, that needs to be toned down a little bit. But I'm sure it drives him crazy to embrace that. But he understands how important it is to let this team be who they are.
Yeah.
And so when I see him lumped in with, you know, La Russa got mad because they hit a 3-0 homer off a guy throwing 45 miles an hour. Like once you bring a position player in, for me, all bets are off. Anything goes. We've already made the game out of hand, you know. And in that situation, 3-0 versus 2-1 or whatever, the guy's throwing 46.
Yeah.
kind of anything goes. But I know it's got to drive Snit crazy deep down, but he knows it's better for the team to be these guys, and he lets
Right.
Acuna do all his things. And the only time he's ever even gotten mad at Acuna was when it cost him a base.
It had nothing to do with
Whether it was fun or not. It's you didn't run out a double.
Right.
So for me to see him get lumped in as fun
Yeah, it's not
police
fair.
or
It's not fair.
it's
He's not.
stupid.
He's not the old man. To his credit, he is not the old man saying, "Get off my lawn." This is
No,
not him. He
not
knows the
at all.
game has changed, and
He
he
wants you off
doesn't
his
try
lawn.
to.
He might
Exactly.
want you off his lawn. It might drive him a little
But he's not
crazy
gonna
when he
say it.
sees you walking through it, but he's
He
going to let it
knows the game
slide.
has changed, and he's not this defiant guy that's like swinging at windmills, or he's not up there trying to stop the evolution of the game. He's not doing that. He
Yeah.
knows that he needs to evolve with the game, and he has fully. And he knows his particular team too. He has said it 1,000 times. The energy, the enthusiasm, he loves it. That's what's
They
helped
feed
his
off it.
team, right? And he knows he doesn't dare try to stop that by stopping the selfie or stopping. He doesn't do any of that. So yeah, it's not fair for him to people accuse him at all of saying, don't let Acuna go up there and get let. That's for the good of the kid,
Yeah.
for the good of the team, for the good of everybody. Even if it's not to show up the other team. You don't want the guy getting hurt. You look like an idiot for letting him do it.
Yeah. If he
And
got
people don't
hurt doing it,
understand
if
how
he
you could get
swung
hurt.
righty and pulled an oblique and you lost him for
Right.
2 months.
Imagine if he goes up there hitting righty or hitting lefty and gets hit by a pitch.
Fouls one off his hand.
Something. People are going, why was it Snit letting him do that?
Yeah.
Everybody was saying that. So
Yeah.
La Russa is out of step with the game. He is completely out of step with the game. His team's playing well regardless, but he's out of step. You can accuse him of being the grumpy old man. Get off my lawn, not changing.
And he's cool with it.
Yeah, you cannot accuse Snit of that. And
No.
and Acuna, by the way, added another thing to his home run trot. He's now doing the rock the baby thing. Have you seen this?
I know. That's
Between
what I'm
third
saying.
and home, he does this rock the baby thing now, like he's going to go up and dunk.
Yeah.
So it's like you got Acuna with the selfie at first or third, depending on where the Braves dugout is. Then they both stop to do that. Acuna does they both do the stutter step before third base. Now it's like it's a production, man. It's choreographed.
Every time.
It
They
is a
got yellow.
production.
They got yellow shoes and yellow sleeves. There's no yellow anywhere on the jersey. Like
there's yellow trim on the
okay,
actual
well,
tomahawk,
there's
but that
big-
certainly accentuated that.
Yeah.
Acuna is slowly transforming the uniform. He is
I know,
transforming
to his
the
own
uniform.
color.
The Braves are now red, blue, and yellow because
Yeah.
he's got yellow all over, man.
That's what I'm
He's
saying.
got like 7 pads and sleeves that have Acuna's his name on it, and they're bright yellow. And then yellow shoes. Next, I'm waiting for the socks. He's gonna have
Yep.
some yellow socks, yellow stripes at least.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that wasn't gonna fly when Bobby was there.
No,
And
not even. Come
Snit
on,
was,
not even.
Snit was raised by Bobby, and that's why. I mean, that's
Bobby
why
wouldn't even let guys wear hoodies. He wouldn't wear a hoodie.
you
It's
couldn't even wear
your
sunglasses
jersey
over
or
the
you wear
front of your
jacket.
hat.
They're
Yep.
still doing that. They are still doing that to their credit.
We were wearing slacks on the road. I mean, it's just Snit. I'm sure some of the stuff, makes him grind his teeth a little bit, but that's why I think he deserves so much credit, because he is an old school baseball guy that's adapted it and embraced the new game, and he knows where his players need to be, and they need to be having their fun and have all the fun you want as long as it doesn't cost us. And
Right.
and that's not an easy mindset to embrace when you're an old school baseball guy that's been in the game as long as he has, but he's moved past it, and he's done a great job of that. I'm sure it's not easy.
And they've got a dugout full of old school guys, coaches.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
Wash, Walt Weiss. I mean, Cranny. You got a bunch of old school guys who came from a generation that you would never do the stuff that the Braves are, but they're letting them do it for the good of the team, for the good of the kids.
Both Acuna and Acuna would have been thrown at 75 times this year, 20 years ago. So,
and when Acuna is thrown at, it's not for doing that.
No.
It's for being so good.
Yeah.
People are trying to get him off the plate because it's
Yeah.
for him hitting home runs against him. It's not for anything he does on the base pass.
No.
And maybe Snit would put a foot down if these antics were getting his guys thrown at, but they're not. They're not starting fights. Like other teams, I'll take Acuna to they smile or laugh at it, I think, for the most part. None of them are over there fuming and saying, cut the shit out or whatever when Azuna's, doing a selfie. I haven't seen any other teams get pissed about it and throw at him for it or throw at one of his teammates for it. So,
but that's being in touch with the game.
Right.
That's knowing that the other team I mean, it's one thing if the other teams were getting pissed off and offended and throwing
Yeah,
at your
and
guys, and
talking
you're going to
about
get
it
guys hurt and
and
getting
talking
pissed
about it. They're
off
not
and
talking about it.
yelling. The whole game's kind of just embraced that
Yeah.
the new way that it's played, and it's like,
Let the kids play.
just get on board.
Yeah.
I mean, that's who's in the game now. You can't sit on your couch because you played 20 years ago and be mad.
Yeah.
It's not going to change anything.
Like I said, it says a lot about where the Braves are and about Freddie Freeman, that they're still waiting for him to get locked in, when in the past 9 games, he's hit 324 with a 439 OBP and 1,057 OPS. It just doesn't feel like it because, he had the flurry of their power, the extra base hits, the home runs, and lately not. But that's what he's done in the last 9 games. If you're just watching the games, though, it's not still full bore Freddie Rakin mode.
Yeah, he's really damn close though. And if the scoreboard said 290 up there, like if when he came up to play to hit 290 and he had these last however many games, it definitely have a different feel to it. But when you see those numbers, it's kind of like you don't feel like he's locked in yet, but he's pretty damn close.
He went 7 for 20 in his last 5 games, 6 singles and 1 RBI. So that's why it doesn't feel like Freddie. Meanwhile, if it feels like you've never seen a guy do what Acuna does with the leading off games with the home runs and the first pitches, it's because really nobody has. Ricky Henderson with the leadoff was the guy, but nobody in the modern in the last decade or so has done what Acuna does with first pitch home runs and to lead off games with the first pitch. It's uncanny. And I asked Snit about it. I'm like, Snit, are you surprised that you still see opposing pitchers throw anything hittable, much less a fastball that catches way too much of the plate to start a game? Because they're still doing it. And he's still.
Every time.
And I asked Ned about it. I said, are you surprised that pitchers keep throwing him first pitch fastballs, especially to start a game? And he said, there's a little bravado and testosterone and stuff like that if you're on the mound wanting to go one-on-one with a really good hitter. And I think those pitchers, most of them are in the big leagues because they feel like they're badasses. Because if you don't feel like that way, you're not going to be in the big leagues for long. I think they look at Snit, at Acuna, and go, you know what? If I throw him my pitch, I can get him.
His first pitch out. That's how you're thinking. And you feel like a bitch throwing a first pitch slider to start the game, right? I mean, that's just, you're scared. Yeah. I mean, even the signal you're sending, but I'm sorry, you got to do it to him. Or if you're going to throw him a first pitch fastball, you miss off the plate or it's painted. You can't come in the middle of the zone against him. But I thought about it, he's not a leadoff hitter.
In the traditional sense,
he should be a 3 or 4 hole hitter. So maybe, if Miguel Cabrera spent his career leading off, I mean, that's how I look at it. Is he's that kind of powerful player that for whatever reason, he just thrives in that spot, and they threw him into it and it worked, and they don't want to mess with it, but he has no business leading off games.
Right. He does that, regardless of which inning he's leading off too. His numbers are through the roof, and his first pitch numbers, he's hit more first pitch homers than anybody since he debuted.
Well, even the walk-off he hit against the Mets was a first pitch slider.
Yeah.
And he went the other way with it. So it's basically, you got to pitch him careful throughout the entire at bat.
His mindset is just so different than most guys going up there easing into an at bat. He's up there. Let's go.
Yep. I'm swinging.
I'm in go mode from pitch one, and more so than any of the other pitches. He is ready on the pitch, first pitch.
Yeah.
And it is something to see. You better be in your seats when the game starts at Truist Park, because or get your beers while the other team's hitting in the first inning. Because
he's hacking.
And on the road, just advice: if you're going to see the Braves during this road trip, be there when the game starts. You don't want to miss it. Get your popcorn and all that and time it out. Don't or wait till after the first inning to go get it.
I mean, it really is insane. He keeps doing it though, and every time it happens, I'm like, what were you thinking did you think he was gonna take today? Do you think today was gonna be the day he works the count? Because every game he swings first pitch.
So when you get Freddie and Ozuna locked in behind him, because they're Snit has stayed with Ozuna in the 3-hole, and Ozuna should be thankful for that, because a lot of managers would have jerked him out of that long ago, But Snit's not going to panic and shuffle his whole lineup around. It worked last year like crazy, and when Ozuna has a big game, then you see it all kind of come together. So I don't think he wants to make that drastic step of moving Ozuna out of the 3-hole and then trying to get him locked in from another spot in the lineup. But
It's a message it sends to,
Yeah.
I mean, it's,
He
do you
believes
remember
in him.
Kelly Johnson talking about that when he got called up and went 0 for 26 or something, and Bobby told him, "You're my left fielder," wherever he was playing. "You're my second baseman." At the time he said, "You're playing. You're my guy. I'm sticking with you." And Kelly talking about that confidence he gave him. If you start jerking guys around in the lineup, it's that same concept I talked about with Bryce Wilson going up and down to, not a lot of guys can handle that. It hurts a lot of guys' confidence, or they take it personal. It puts them in a funk. So it's hard to watch sometimes when you feel like Riley's hitting how well he's hitting. Should he be in the 4-hole or should he be moved up in the lineup? But the message that Snitz sends to Ozuna with that's important.
And the 5 spot, people act like Riley's hitting 8th. He's hitting 5th. There's a lot of great hitters hitting in the 5 spot, and it's working.
Yeah.
Everybody's response, when somebody gets hot, the immediate response on social media is, "Isn't it time to move him up?" I'm like, it's working where he is. Why mess with it?
Why mess with it?
Yeah. I mean, he's obviously thriving where he's at. Why risk him moving him into another slot and not be comfortable? So, yeah. You could argue that you could move Ozuna out of the 3-hole, but I still saw him enough last year that I think he's going to come around, and I've seen him have enough big games. I'd give it at least another couple of weeks before I'd think about doing that. And if Riley keeps raking like he is, and Ozuna keeps kind of sputtering along, sure, I could see moving Riley to the 4 or the 3-hole, but I wouldn't be quite there yet. I'd still give it another couple of weeks, especially when the offense seems to be coming around, regardless of who's still struggling.
And Ozuna's still a presence,
Yeah.
I mean, even if he's not hitting, he's there to take you deep.
Yeah.
When he's on deck and you're facing Freddie, it's like you got to pick your poison. And even if he's not locked in, he can still take you deep.
There was a game, by the way, April 16th at Chicago. That was a game where Snit sat Riley, wanted him to have a breather for a day. He was hitting 190 with no extra base hits, no RBIs through 14 games, which is hard to believe now when you watch him. Really,
yeah.
No extra base hits, no RBIs. He had the next day, he had a sacrifice fly for his first RBI of the year in his 50th plate appearance of the year. Beginning the day after that, here's what his numbers are, Austin Riley. Beginning April 18th through May 23rd, 32 games, 31 starts. He has hit 376 with a 469 OBP, 697 slugging, OPS of 1166. I mean, that's insane. Batting average on balls in play 508. So he's getting luck too. But I mean,
he's hitting the piss out of the ball.
Yeah, he's hitting everything's just line drives.
Missiles.
This is those numbers though. I mean, those are elite plus numbers right there. And he's done it for 32 games now for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Dansby Swanson, we were just about ready to give up on him. A lot of people were. And we were starting to say, what is wrong with this guy? Well, if he's turned a corner, because it looks like the last 5 games, he's doing some things differently. Obviously, he's not trying to yank everything. He's using them up the middle and the other way again, which is when he's at his best. That's what he does. Last 5 games, he is 10 for 19, 4 doubles, 3 homers, 4 ribbies. He's hit 526 in that span with a 1761 OPS. So if you're the Braves, you're going, and that's a guy down in your order too. So he really gives you so much length when Riley's hitting 5th and Dansby's hitting behind him and doing that. It really changes the whole complexion of the lineup. Whereas before, after the first third of the lineup, it was like just drop off a cliff.
I know, and I keep wanting to get on Contreras about the 1 knee thing, and then he hits a 3-run homer. It's like he's hitting all right down there too.
Yep. I mean, he's a threat anytime he steps to the plate. So you just fill in the gaps and get some other guys jacked up going, and you'll be like last year, close to it. What the team did last year. So, and Contreras isn't doing the 1 knee thing because he likes it. That's what he's being taught. That's what they're doing. I mean, he doesn't really have a choice. I guess he could say, I'm not doing it. I don't feel comfortable doing it. But as a young guy trying to secure your spot, that's not what you really want to do. So
you're not making those you're not overruling decisions when you're trying to stay in the league and get yourself up there. But I mean, I watch it and it's like,
yeah,
give up pass ball and a strikeout, and then
Yep.
guy goes second to third in a 1-run game. It's hard to watch sometimes, but that's what they're teaching them. You know, you can't really criticize the guy for it.
Kevin Smith, I thought it was a good move. They got Mathis. They DFA'd Mathis. They keep him in the organization because they love everything he brings to the table.
Yeah.
They love him talking to the young guys, working with the young guys. He's on the taxi squad. So if you have an injury, you bring him in. Meanwhile, they have an upgrade with Kevin Smith, offensively an upgrade, and a guy who's still strong defensively and calling games. So they added to the catching spot. That was a good move, I thought. And you got LaCroix working himself into game shape because he hadn't played in over a month when the Braves signed him. You know, he started out well with the Nationals. It looked good for them when he was filling in at the start of the year. So catching wise, they're solid. I mean, depth wise, they're good. And that's important, as we've seen. The guys can get hurt so fast. We saw 2 catchers get hurt in one game in Tampa.
Yeah.
So they're covered. Anything happens there, and covered with the kind of guys who can handle a young staff. They're stressing the importance of that. So, man, I'm impressed with Ian Anderson, how he is. I think pitched to 4 different catchers this year, and he does the same. He pitches the same game regardless of who's back there. I mean, this is a guy that doesn't need to be led by the hand. He's, for a young guy, man. This guy's got something going on.
Well, I mean, how hard is it to call a game when you can locate 3+ pitches?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, I mean, and that's something that even if you're a pitcher and you know, maybe it's not the pitch you want to throw, but when he can make a quality pitch, I used to do that all the time. When Rossi would call a pitch I didn't like, I just miss with it. You know, like if he'd call a slider and I felt like, I don't know, I never wanted to question him. So I'm throwing the pitch he's calling, but I'm making sure if I miss, I throw it in the dirt. And it feels like if, you know, Ian has such good control, if he's not completely on board, it's a changeup, he could still locate that changeup so well that he doesn't get hurt on it. So he'd be a fun guy to call a game for.
Oh man, I'm just looking over Riley's stuff. God, the stuff that Riley did, the things that he did make you go, wow. I mean, when you can do stuff in this organization that's been, 100 and however many years it is, when you could be the first guy to do anything in this organization that's had Hank Aaron, Chipper Jones, Eddie Matthews, I mean, that's had some all-time greats.
Yeah.
You're doing work, man. And he did something. He's got 10 extra base hits and 6 homers in the last 7 games. First Braves player, at least since the modern era began in 1920. So in a century, he is the first Braves player to have 6 homers and 10 extra base hits in any 7-game span. How about that?
Whew, that doesn't seem. I mean, you feel like Chipper or
Hank
somebody would have done that. Hank,
Chipper,
Freddie, somebody might have gotten that hot.
I know. I read the stat a few times to make sure I was putting it down right. And that was at game notes last night. And he's got, the thing with the among the third baseman, Chipper and Eddie did some things that are out there as far as offense. And he did one of those yesterday. It was the first game that he's had where he had what was the stat? Here it is. First Braves third baseman to have at least 2 homers and 5 RBIs in a game since Chipper did it June 7th, 2009. Eddie Matthews did it 13 times. Chipper did it 7 times. Bob Horner did it 3 times.
I mean, they say anytime you get mixed in, you start, anything you do on the field and you start just getting pulled in with Hall of Famers are the only ones that have done it.
Yeah.
That's always a good sign.
God, from OPS and 456 on April 17th to OPS and where he is now, over 900.
It feels like it happened in 3 days too.
It does, man.
I feel like we were asking questions about him and then all of a sudden he's hitting 300. He finished April hitting 300.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. He's going to get right now, I would say he's put himself right in the middle of the player of the month. How about if the Braves had back-to-back players of the month? Because Acuna was for April.
Yeah.
I think he certainly will be player of the week unless they do the ridiculous. Was there a no-hitter by a National League pitcher this week? There was, right?
That's one every day.
That can no longer be the rule. If Gatto's a no-hitter, he gets player of the week because there's one all the time.
Yeah.
They'll pitchers will win player of the week for the rest of the season. If that's the case. So I think Riley's got to win player of the week, man.
Oh, Cam sent it to me. Cam sent me since Acuna got hit by that fastball, he's hitting 198.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's going to be interesting. This is a big trip for them. 2 games, Boston, 3 at Citi Field against the Mets, and we're going to know a lot more about where they stand when they come back. Nice series rebound against the Pirates to kind of vault them into this thing and get some guys going and feel good about themselves. And after all, it's been a roller coaster so far, man, absolute roller coaster. But bottom line, the Braves are right there, right a game under 500, and the division races can be changed in 3 days right now. So
the only thing scary about the Mets is Lindor's still hitting 200.
yes, that's not lasting.
They're
Thor's
doing
coming
this
back.
without him.
Thor will be back for much longer.
DeGrom missed a few.
Yeah,
They might be legit.
Yeah, they're different. They're a different team now, I think, than they've been in the past when they've Metsed it up all the time. So, have
I
you seen
keep
what the
waiting for
Yankees?
it.
You've seen what the Yankees starters have done, by the way.
Mm-mm.
Check out the Yankees starting pitchers. What they've done in the last 5 or 6 games. It's been insane. All right, that's it. We'll talk again on. We'll talk again on what? Friday.
Thursday or Friday.
Thursday or Friday. Yeah. If I do it on the off day, Thursday, after the 2 games in Boston.
Cool.
All right. That's it for us. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. 755 is real. We're out.
Cam, my recording